You're listening to The Ride to Work with Pastor Fred. Fuel for your faith before you clock in. Enjoy the ride.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for the ride today. It is Friday. We are at the end of the week for this series. How's your preseason going? That's what the series was about this week. And normally we know we would have 5 for Friday. I only had a couple questions. So I decided we'll just culminate this series with the finale episode, which I think is very befitting as to what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have a Friday film session. That's what we're going to have, a Friday film session. That's what we're going to have. And we're looking to try and see, what did preseason reveal? That's what we'll tag this episode. What did preseason reveal? Our anchor scripture says this: examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. That's King James Version of 2 Corinthians 13, chapter, the 5th verse. Listen, right now we're just going to get right down to it. Let's watch the film. Let's watch the film. I mean, I told you, we're just doing something different today. We spent the entire week asking, how's your preseason going? And before we close this series, I don't want to give you 5 questions from somebody else. That's why we're doing this. We had a couple questions, but I don't want to give you 5 questions from somebody else or from a different series. I want to culminate this series. I want to give you one question, just this one question that came to me about yourself. What did your preseason reveal? If you've been riding with us all week and we've been talking about preseason and all of that, what did your preseason reveal? Because after football teams practice, after they scrimmage, after they play preseason games, all those coaches and scouts and all those assistant coaches and all of them, they do something that players really don't always enjoy. They watch the film. They watch the film. And one thing about film, it doesn't care about your intentions. It don't care about what you meant to do. Film don't care about what you thought you did. Film shows what actually happened. That's what film does. And maybe before we rush into a whole nother week, a whole nother prayer, another goal that we want to set, a whole nother series, a whole nother opportunity, we may need to watch the film. Please hear me when I say this. Listen, first thing you have to do is review the film. Review your film. Let me make it a little more personal. Review your film. Paul says, examine yourselves. That's what he's saying. In other words, look at yourself honestly. Look at yourself honestly. This week, we've talked about preparation. We've talked about what else? Discipline. Being faithfulness. We talked about pressure. Yeah, we definitely talked about pressure and what pressure reveals. We talked about being ready. We talked about a lot of stuff this week. So ask yourself, this question now, what keeps showing up on your film? Just ask yourself the question, what keeps showing up on my film? Make it personal. Where am I inconsistent? What do I keep avoiding? Ask yourself those questions. What keeps showing up on my film? Where do I keep making excuses? What happens when I'm frustrated? What happens when nobody is watching? That integrity part. What happens when I don't get my way? Because preseason ain't only about showing what you do well. Preseason exposes what you still need work on. That's what it does. And that's not condemnation. That's, as I said, information. That's what it is. You can't correct what you refuse to confront. You can't do it. So don't be ashamed of what the film reveals. Use it to improve what your future requires. That's what I need you to do. I'm going to say that again. Man, that rolled real good. Don't be ashamed of what the film reveals. Use it to improve what the future requires. Man, that is, I'm gonna write that down. Jeez. I'm sorry. Anyway, let me move on. Let me move on. I'm going to use that later on somewhere. Look, but review your film. That's what you got to do. Review your film. Paul says, examine yourselves. The next thing, look, you got to return to practice. Because after you review the film, you got to return to practice. Because here's where some people mess up. They see what's wrong and they get discouraged. Mm? They see the issue and they get down. That's what they do. But coaches, they don't watch film just to criticize you, just to criticize players. They don't watch film just to do that. They watch film to correct players. If the film shows that your footwork is off or your footwork is wrong, you go work on your feet, right? If you're missing assignments, you go study the playbook. If you're getting tired too quickly, you go and you improve your conditioning. And spiritually, watch this, it's the same thing. Huh? What is your film revealing? I mean, if your film reveals inconsistency, what you need to do is you need to go work on your discipline. Hmm? If it reveals anger, work on your responses. If it reveals that you're not a good steward, you just got poor stewardship, then you need to work on your habits. Huh? I mean, what is your film showing? What is your film revealing? In this preseason, we're looking at the film. It's Film Friday. Yeah, I like that. We used to call it Five for Friday. Today we're calling it Film Friday. If you're insecure, that's a good one. If it reveals insecurity, then you might need to work on your identity. Who are you? Huh? Spiritual weakness. That's one. Get back into the word. Get back into prayer. Get back into God's presence. If the film is revealing all of this is what you need to do. Stop being so devastated by discovering where you need development. You got to get back to practice. That's what preseason is for. To reveal what you need work on. You'd rather discover the weakness in practice than have it exposed when everything is on the line, right? Right? You'd rather it come out before you right out there on Front Street, right? I would hope so. I would hope so. Listen, God doesn't let me see this. God doesn't he doesn't expose or reveal every weakness to shame you. He doesn't do that. That's not how that works. He reveals it so it can strengthen you before you need it. That's preparation. You're going to need to know how to endure some things before you actually have to endure some things. You're going to need to know how to avoid some things before you actually have to avoid some things. You're going to need to know how to fight in some battles before you actually have to experience that battle. So he reveals where you're weak at, not to shame you, not to disappoint you, not to get you to stop, to quit. He does it to correct you and then to strengthen you so you'll be ready on game day. And that's the third thing I want to let you know. You got to get ready for your number to be called. That's what you got to do. And here's where I want to leave you this Friday. This is where I want to leave you. At some point, preseason ends. It's over. At some point, you can't keep practicing forever. Please hear me when I say this. Can't keep preparing forever. You can't keep saying one day or eventually or when I'm ready, when everything lines up, when I feel more confident. No, can't keep saying that kind of stuff because eventually your number gets called. Your number gets called. Do you hear what I'm saying? David had the sheep. David had the lion. David had the bear. That was preseason. But one day there was a Goliath. Do you hear what I'm saying? Huh? And what David developed privately became necessary publicly. God, I hope you got that. What David developed privately, what you develop privately, it becomes necessary publicly. Do you hear me? You may be closer to needing what God has been developing in you more than you realize. Something's coming. Do you hear me? Huh? Remember when it said all the the celestial beings met up? I'm just paraphrasing, the God in heaven, and it said, and Satan came also, and God asked him, what's been going on with you, bro? What's happening with you? And he said, I've been roaming the earth to and fro, and all this other stuff. And God said, have you considered my servant Job? He didn't ask him. Well, I mean, God knew what the deal was, but Satan didn't ask for Job. God offered him up. Sometimes your number gets called. So what you do privately, how you're developed in preseason, it becomes necessary publicly. That's why discipline matters. That rejection taught you something. That difficult season developed something. That little assignment that you thought was just minimal, it mattered. Those days when nobody even noticed you, they mattered. The moments you had to keep showing up mattered because maybe, just maybe, God wasn't just getting something ready for you. Maybe God was getting you ready for it. It said he offered up Job. Have you considered my servant Job? Huh? Don't wait until your number is called to become the person the moment requires. No, it's too late then. You need to already be ready, not get ready. You need to already be ready. Huh? Anyway, like I said, I don't want to keep you long today, but I just wanted to put that out there. So before you pull into work, listen, because this is right to work. Before you pull into work on this wonderful Friday, just one last time, I just want to ask you, how's your preseason going? How's it going? Watch your film, make your corrections, and get back to practice. Huh? But you can't live in preseason forever. There comes a moment, hear me when I say it comes a moment when preparation has to become participation. Hmm? Comes a moment when studying has to become doing. Comes a moment, listen to what I'm saying. Game time is starting. Comes a moment when all that potential has to become performance. Hmm? There comes a moment, listen to me. Comes a moment, even when faith has to finally say, your faith has to finally say, put me in, coach. Put me in. And I'm not saying you're perfect. And maybe you aren't perfect. Maybe you still got weaknesses. Maybe you still have some things you're working on. But if you've been praying, huh? We're talking about that preparation as far as, in quiet, in secret. If you've been growing, you've been learning, you've been getting healed up from old wounds, old past traumas, you've been developing and becoming, then there's no need for you to sit your whole life on the sideline because you waiting to feel completely ready. Nobody feels completely ready for everything God calls them to do. Nobody does. At some point, you got to trust the training. You got to trust what you learned. You got to trust what God has developed in you. And most importantly, you got to trust the coach. You got to trust the coach. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Listen, so when your number gets called, get in the game. Get in the game because the lion wasn't wasted. The bear wasn't wasted. The pasture wasn't wasted. It wasn't. The waiting wasn't wasted. The pressure wasn't wasted. It was preseason. All that was preseason for David. And if you didn't go through all that preparation, you didn't. You wouldn't be able to do the things that God is going to require for you to do in public. And you didn't do it just to sit on the sideline. You didn't go through all of that just to sit on the sideline. Huh? No. So listen, have an incredible, incredible Friday. An incredible Friday. And remember, listen. Let me just try to close it out with something to just leave you with. If game day doesn't create what's in you, game day don't create what's in you. It reveals what preseason developed. We'll say it like that. Hmm? Now, get in the game. Get in the game. This is Film Friday. Listen, I want to thank you so much for joining us for this week. I had fun this week asking you how's your preseason going. I also want to just solicit your prayers as we'll be traveling on this week, this Friday, heading up to Georgia for my dear friend and my brother from another mother, uh, Pastor Wright. We do his appreciation anniversary every year, True Praise uh, Cathedral, and we're just looking to have a wonderful, wonderful time there. So we just pray that you offer up prayer for traveling mercies, keep us safe on the highways. We just have a wonderful, wonderful service, and I happen going to be seeing my brother and my sister Courtney, and we just gonna have a wonderful, wonderful time in the Lord. So thank you so much for your prayers. Enjoy your weekend, please. And again, how's your preseason going? Because it's getting ready to end real soon. It's time to get in the game. God bless you. We'll be riding again next week with a brand